Hello and welcome to Essential Racing Strategies. Grab your pencils, let's get them sharpened. It's class time. What is Essential Racing Strategies and what is it all about? This is a video series dedicated to helping racers improve their ability to race against other drivers in Gran Turismo Sport Mode. If you are new to this series and haven't seen the previous episodes, I would encourage you to check them out, as all of these strategies are building upon one another to make you the most complete racer possible. There is a playlist on my channel where you can find all of these episodes for your reference. That link will be in the description as well as the end of this episode. Today we are on episode 4, which is the beginning of 3 episodes that will focus on B-ranked drivers, racing in B-rated lobbies. Right now, this is where we look at your weekly objectives. Next episode will be your top priority, and following that, we'll cover your mindset for B-rated lobbies. At the time of this recording, it is documented that there are over 110,000 GT7 B-ranked drivers currently. This is roughly 4 times the amount of people that have made it to A rank. That means that there are many active racers in sport mode who have not been able to take their racing to the next level and get out of what I would like to call the trenches of GT7 sport mode. That's right, friends. If you are B ranked and racing mostly in B-rated lobbies, you are down in the trenches. Why do I call them the trenches? Well, for me, this was the hardest ranking to overcome. Yes, even harder than going from A rank to A+. There are many reasons why I think this way, and those will gradually come out to the surface in the next few episodes. The experiences that we have in a B-rated lobby are a mixture of frantic pace, much impatience, all forms of contact, and a whole lot of facing the wrong way. While you may be having some good outcomes, probably 50% of the time your finishes are very low. And even when the finishes are high on the grid, sometimes the way you are treated there, well, it can really make even that good finish feel kind of bittersweet. The B racers and their lobbies could be considered the forgotten level in sport mode. But here in Essential Racing Strategies, we have not forgotten. In fact, you may recall that I keep one of my Gran Turismo accounts lower to get the experiences that you are facing on a regular basis so I can better help you. All the footage that you will see in these 3 episodes are examples that you will see from B-rated lobbies in sport mode. So how do we overcome these challenges and get to the next level? As before, it all starts by evaluating your weekly objectives and getting that routine down that can really set yourself up for success. These objectives here that we'll look at will be similar to the ones that we looked at last time in episode 1. But there are going to be some very important adjustments that really cannot be overlooked. First here we have qualifying time and race pace need to improve. But guess what? They are still secondary. This might come as a surprise to some of you because there are some competitors out there that you find that are really fast and hard to keep up with. But the reality is that in B lobbies you are facing a wide variety of skill levels. At least half of the grid is still quite inconsistent. So while you need to begin to be faster in your overall race pace, and those qualifying times do need to start becoming lower, this ultimately will not be the reason you succeed and make it from B to A. So what should your approach be when setting a qualifying time? What you're shooting for now is quicker than what it was when you were back in the E through C lobbies. Right now, you need to preferably set a qualifying time around 2 to 3 seconds off the top times in the world. If you can do better, and you feel like you got it, I'd say go for it. If you can, you'll probably be top 5 on the grid most of the time if you can get into that 2-second range or under. Once again, this can differ slightly, depending on length of track, quantity of turns, races with setups, what region you race in, and so forth. If this was one of those weekly time trials that the game gives us, I would say you would want to be shooting for that silver time, the one that would get you 1 million credits. Another way to look at it too is go for a time that puts you in about 2,000 to 2,500 in the world. This is some general goals that you should be shooting for when putting in a qualifying time. But no matter how you look at it, your qualifying time should get you a spot on the starting grid that is 7th or higher. Do the best lap that you can, and look for ways to improve your qualifying time and race pace by checking out other content creators. I would say that you want to start out by planning about 30 minutes to an hour. Set aside about that much time before getting on track. If you are finding that you are starting on the grid lower than that, it likely means that you should get back and try to improve that time. It may be necessary to do some practice, then do a few races, get the feel for the race and how the car responds to tire wear and fuel consumption, and then go back out there and do some more solo time on the track to get that time down. Something that differs between B-rated lobbies and those lower lobbies, the E through C, would be, I would say that if you are unable to get a time that gets you into that arena, this might not be the week for you, or maybe not the race for you that week. There's no shame in realizing that a particular combination just doesn't suit your strengths, and moving on to another daily race, or maybe even taking that week off and waiting for the dailies for next week, is the way to go. Next, we're getting ready to race. When you are following ghosts and getting that practice time, I want you to give special attention to the racing lines from the ghosts in the game while you practice and follow them as closely as possible. A tendency that I seem to find on a regular basis for B-ranked drivers is this tendency to narrow your lines up, not use all of the track. Apex to apex, it seems like we're trying to cover the shortest amount of distance, and that might work in geometry, but it's not the quickest way around a track with a car. It feels like you're going faster when you're doing those narrow lines, but you are actually compromising your exits and actually going slower. So I'd like to demonstrate this by showing you a race that I did at the Nürburgring. This is one where I ended up setting a qualifying time, got pole, and was not in a meta car. I'm looking right now at P2 here in the Ferrari. One of the meta cars, the Lambo and the Ferrari, were the two that really were dominating the field that week. Here's a demonstration of someone who is doing that exact thing of thinking that they can go apex to apex in the shortest amount of distance and be fast. But you're going to see how, while I am more patient in these corners, these slower ones especially, I'm going to go ahead and let it go here. You can see I'm a little bit wider. Now his entrance here isn't bad, as long as if right here he started to head more towards the left. But look what he does. He goes straight for this right apex. Has to slow down a lot. He's at 60 miles per hour entering this apex. I'm at 70 miles per hour because of my entrance. Let's look at it again. The next lap, have a little bit more of a distance from him at this point. I actually go a little bit wide myself, and you see how he's done the exact same thing. Let's take it. He has to drop speed there, so he's at 63 miles per hour entering the apex. I'm at 72. All right, once again here on the fourth lap, much closer than before. He's got a good start, but then he gets on the throttle earlier than me to get to this next apex. I'm gonna check my speed right there. Okay, so I'm at, let's see, I'm at 68 hitting the apex. He's back here at 62, 6 mile per hour difference. So what that's doing is each time we end up at this corner, I am pulling away at this point here every time. And all the work that he's done, good work, to get to me, to catch up to me and the rest of the track, it's all for naught. Now, this is an extreme example from a set of very slow corners. You don't find these types of slow corners at every track, but this really does demonstrate it well. Be on the lookout for more examples of this as far as race pace in the upcoming episodes. So I mentioned putting a ghost out on track, a faster time for you to follow. Some folks don't like it when they have a ghost. Others prefer it. I am one that would be an advocate of putting a ghost out there. Now, with some caveats. The first one would be, don't put the ghost starting right at the same time as you. I would say put the ghost out in front at least 2/10 away from your car so that you have that cushion and it's something that you can follow right away. A mistake that I made early on was having the ghost at the same time as me, and not only that, I wouldn't have the ghost reset at every checkpoint. Also, a bit of advice when following a ghost: try to find the same car that you are using. If you are unable to find a top time in the same car that you are using, then I would suggest finding a same type of car. So if you are driving an FR car, a front engine rear-wheel drive car, find another front engine rear-wheel drive car that you can follow. If you're in an MR car or mid-engine rear wheel, do the same thing. If you're in an all-wheel drive car, find another all-wheel drive car to follow. This way, the car that they are driving will be similar to the one that you're using at least, and react in similar ways. Part of the advantages of following a ghost of a top time in the world is you can see how they enter corners, where they turn in. You can see when they start braking. You can see where they clip the apex and when they start to accelerate. It is likely that if you accelerate when the ghost does, you'll make the corner without going too wide. Also, a part of getting ready to race on track would be the assist. Now, in the previous episode, episode 1, with your weekly objectives, we talked about all the assists that you can use and that are available to you. We use assists to help you control the car, keep the car on the road. And if you're continuing to do that at this point, I think that's fine. Whatever helps you stay in control, I think you should still do that. However, there are potentially going to be certain assists that you're using that are slowing you down, and at this level, at level B, they may end up slowing you down too much. I would suggest, for instance, traction control. If you're continually using it at level 3 or higher, it is time to lower it. When you're exiting, it is cutting a lot of power to the wheels and it's slowing you down. At this stage of your journey, I would recommend using traction control no higher than level 2. At times, some of these assists that help you keep the car straight can generate some bad habits also. For instance, the narrow racing line that you're used to using has only been working because when you come into a corner too steep and you exit that corner in a steep fashion, the assists are actually helping you prevent the car from spinning. However, you are exiting the corner slower and carried less speed through the corner because the traction control is kicked in. A wider entrance into the corner will give you more speed into and out of the corner, and you will be straighter upon exit, giving you less chance of the rear of the car stepping out on you. We will discuss this a little bit more in depth in the next episode. But for now, let's get to your on-track approach. So, as a B-ranked driver, racing in B-rated lobbies, what should your on-track approach be? Many drivers still are making many mistakes. You still need to be the person with the fewest mistakes. The person with the fewest mistakes, and those who avoid the big mistake, will finish higher on the grid all the time. So be that person, commit to it. It can also be tempting to quit after something hasn't gone your way. Even if you end up off the track and you're facing the wrong direction for a while. Even if you were first and now you're last, keep going. The DNF will place you last, and it counts as a last place finish, dealing a significant blow to your DR ranking. An 11th place finish is still better than a 16th place finish. It might be tempting to go for that fastest time every time you're on track. Instead, find a race pace that is something that you can control and something that you can compete with. Also, not everyone who bumps you is dirty, but a higher percentage probably are. Skill level has increased across the board in B-rated lobbies, but there are still skill issues and bad driving. Dirty drivers are out there, and those that are have found more control over their vehicles, and they may feel they can get away with it more easily and actually not wreck their own race as well. Racing closely isn't impossible now, but it is still difficult. Last time we discussed in E through C lobbies, we said to avoid racing closely to others at all costs. When racing with other B-ranked drivers, there will be some racers you can race closely, and others that you really should avoid. What this requires of you is to observe and pay close attention to find out who the fellow drivers are that you can race closely with, and the ones that you should definitely avoid. When approaching someone and looking for an opportunity to pass, it is still better to hang back and look for those slight mistakes your opponents are making so you can take advantage on the exit of corner and get the pass done. So, what do we take away from this episode? What are our key points to drive home? Set a qualifying time that is 2 to 3 seconds off the top times in the world, or you could look at it also as a top 2,000 to 2,500 in the world rankings. If you think you can do better, of course, go for it. This will likely take more time to achieve than you're used to. But be patient. Study what mistakes you are making and learn from them. We are at the point now in B-ranked lobbies that you can't just start driving and eventually the time you're looking for will just come. Those days are now gone. You will need to put the work in to get a competitive enough time. Now more than ever, find a comfortable, repeatable pace for the races you are in. You might think it is slow, but it is quicker than you think. Even when there is chaos and pressure around you, maintain that repeatable pace so you don't exceed the limits of the car and end up spinning or crashing. Make sure you are still the person that is avoiding the big mistake. Even if you do make the big mistake, determine not to give up, but continue to make strides to gain positions. Those positions are there for you and will likely come to you. And that will do it for this episode of Essential Racing Strategies. Next time when we get together, we will once again explore what should be the top priority on your list in order to get your racing to the next level. If you remember the previous top priority for racers, then you'll definitely recognize this one. But how to achieve it will have some key changes and additions. Until then, friends, later.